All right, we are live. Um, let's see. So I'm a little bit. Uh, I got a little bit of a late start prepping for this today because I am. Weather is beautiful. I don't over here in Lakeland. I mean, it's been pretty. It's actually pretty dry. So the air and stuff, so it doesn't feel hot in the afternoon. So I was moving some stuff around today, and then also was preparing so I could maybe take tomorrow off and be on the road. So I'm a little bit behind on some of the prep, but I do have my trusty outline and for the show here. So I'm not gonna I'm gonna give a few little bit here to get people to know that the video is live, and then I'll get started with my little list. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I did. We had a great weekend. Hey Mark, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming out. And Mike, thank you for coming out and visiting. Certainly our regulars. Hopefully, maybe we'll see Michelle again this weekend. You'll see my Michelle probably this weekend. Maybe, I don't know. We only, as parents of a young adult, we only hear from her, a couple minutes a day. So we're lucky, I guess, to have that. So anyway, and Lisa, thank you for being part of the show. I wasn't able to talk to you at the show. I don't know if I missed you. I did see Adam, and I don't know how I missed you there, to ask you how you did and everything. And Jonathan, how are you? We'll see you I think this weekend up in World Golf Village. Okay. All right, guys. All right. So the weekend was pretty smooth. I mean, we've been running we've been running the show there in Tampa. How are you, JD? We're going to see you soon in about 3 4 weeks up there down there in Port St. Lucie. I'm going to talk a little bit about the schedule. Thanks for coming out and stopping in. So yeah, we've been running the show there in Tampa at the fairgrounds for since 2020. A little bit of background on how we got to the fairgrounds, just for informational things. A little bit of background on how we got to the fairgrounds originally was, everyone unfortunately remembers COVID. It's like, pre-COVID and after COVID, just like pre 9/11, after 9/11, for those of you that were around then. Okay. I would say most of you were around, but anyway, during what happened before COVID was we were at this hotel that I talk about where the guy locked the tables away, and then we had to cancel the show, or we had to push the show out, and luckily no vendors canceled. It was supposed to be May 2020, and what happened is the hotel that we were using was close to the USF college, and so it was being used actually as like a mobile hospital or something like that for patients or doctors or something. I don't know.
I
Um,
think that's where medical staff were staying or something.
yeah, I think the medical staff were staying there. Well, in a panic, I was thinking, oh man, I'm not going to be able to afford this, but I was able to rent the fairgrounds, the space that we had this past weekend, and we were able to rent that and push it out to November of 2020, and we were able to have the show. Even though I think at the time Tampa had some rules, some odd rules and stuff, about doing events or something. I don't know, but
We're still wearing masks in November.
yeah, they were wearing masks in November. What anyway, I'm not gonna go over that. But anyway, we've been at that location since then. Okay, and I remember Hey, Ron, how are you doing? Nice to see you there. Chris, well, we're looking forward to seeing you in Kissimmee. Everybody, Chris is selling his collection of games. So if you reach out to him, he is selling his whole collection. He's going to bring whatever's left of his video game collection. He's got a large video game collection. He's going to be selling it at the Kissimmee show. So on May 23rd. So I'll talk a little bit about the Kissimmee show here in a minute. And yes, everything. Okay. Not because you need the money. I want to, it's because you need to make room in your house for other stuff. And it's just not, it's just sitting. So, all right. Well, you got to sign up, Alex. What are you doing? So, reach out and hit me up and I'll send you the link. Okay. Sign up and then we'll figure it out. Okay. So I can hold tables for you. Yeah. So, thanks for coming out, Alex. We don't get her on here. She does the coasters and stuff. She's been consistent. We've had people, I don't approve more than one person that would do this. So in general, or I try unless, somebody, because what happens is sometimes people will sign up. I'll give you an example. I'm not throwing out names or anything, but we have one person that does tumblers, and every once in a while we'll get a second person. But a lot of times what that is they actually sell something else and then they bring tumblers, you know what I mean, or whatever. Because in general, I want to have like one of something. That way, the vendor has a chance. I know customers want more variety and that's great for the toys and everything, but for the other stuff, I don't want to fill my show with, that type of thing. I don't want to be a craft show. I think we started with Lisa, who's become a friend, and she's just really, really, her stuff is really, really nice and great. And so I really enjoy having her at the show. And so we started there and then we added from there. Hey, Mr. Shellhead. Hopefully, I wasn't able to talk to you either for some reason. I don't know how you did. You can, if you want to share, you did all right, or hopefully you didn't do bad, but most people I think seem to be pretty happy at the show. I did have it was really funny because some vendors, on Sunday, told me, some regulars, they're like, Sunday is, we didn't do as well. And then I had on the other side of the room, you had vendors like, oh man, Sunday was better for me. So it's just always weird. Okay. But we did have around 2,000 people with kids, show up to this event. So, you're not going to be able to get that, somebody, and I'm not happy about the parking costs. Okay. Which I'm going to talk about a little bit about how we can make it cheaper for people as far as the parking goes and just overall. All right. But I'm not thrilled with the parking costs and stuff with that. And really the reason why we are doing Kissimmee on May 23rd versus a different day is the other dates that they had for me. They had to charge $15 for parking out in Kissimmee. And I just think that is just, robbery basically in my, it's just, we need to have parking. If we were a show, if we were another show where only 100 people show up, or they only need a little, parking lot or whatever, and they're just, or they don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but they're just not really paying attention to that. They're not really promoting. Then, maybe they don't need the parking lot, but we need parking. Okay. Whenever I go to look at a venue, I look at how much parking do they have? Can they handle the volume of people that we get? Because we do have kind of an average now, guys. Like, on our 1-day shows, we usually average around 1,000, somewhere 1,500. Okay. That's a decent amount of people in one day. I mean, yes, I know there's other shows that say they get 5,000 or whatever, and I'm happy for them. But when I go to look at a venue, we need to have parking. And sometimes, unfortunately, that parking costs money. And the reality is the Tampa shows are the biggest attended events. Now, um, vendors will say maybe they aren't the biggest sales wise, but that also could be partially that could be is the size of the space is also big. And so that means that the money that is spent for those amount of people is spread out. Okay. There's more variety, there's more stuff. So I don't know, but I just know that at the end of the day, the Tampa shows at the fairgrounds are great. And yes, the parking sucks, the cost wise. And I'm hopefully now what I think I can do on that, actually I have that on here, is parking ticket, selling tickets in advance that include parking. Because I believe if I have names and stuff, if I get people registered. Okay. I don't know. Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm going to come back to this message. Okay. Okay. Let me have bought 2 tables. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, no, don't I'll connect you. I'll connect you guys. Okay. Don't worry about that. Okay. We'll come back to that. All right. Let me yeah, sorry. That was a big message and it messed with me. So the parking, what I think we're going to be able to do in Tampa is if I register if I sell tickets in advance, okay, and they include parking, I think I can get a discount on the parking. Okay. I don't know how much, but I can buy parking, I think, at a discount. But I have to tell people, I have to get them, registered. Now that the parking at the fairgrounds is the way they handle parking for vendors is I send out a link and the vendors have to register for parking for a QR code. And now you can do the same thing for the parking. I believe you can get a discount by pre-registering for parking. I hope that was the case because that's kind of how it was explained to me. But I think if I do it, let's say a couple weeks out from the show, and let's say we put together a package that includes a full weekend, includes parking, includes a t-shirt or something like that, like a VIP type thing. We can include the parking, and I can just pay them directly for the parking. And that way, there's like one thing, and anyway, that way. Excuse me. There's one thing, and you register for it, but that's going to be something where it'll have to be a pre-sale ticket, and it's a bundle. So that way, you'd have to make a decision to come to the show. Okay. The other thing too is that using the fairgrounds gives us I-4 access to signage, which when they started, the sign wasn't really very good. It was it just did a few colors, and then later on they put my logo on there. So we're supposed to get 2 weeks of marketing on the sign out there on I-4 and then around the fairgrounds. I've been so busy that, like, for instance, this time they just had like a blue background with Tampa Collector Fest. Now, normally what they do is they put our logo up there, which I'm going to get back to. That reminds me of the yard sale thing. But basically, and so now the sign is a lot better. And so I need to, I haven't really worked with them to say, hey, I want our freaking flyer on there or whatever, because they do have that ability, but there is laws and stuff on how the sign can be. So we've kept it simple. I know my overall branding is kind of simple and my flyers and stuff, but that's kind of done on purpose. It's just my own style that I have and things that I've learned over time, uh, and it's a time factor. Okay. Okay. So yeah, Joel, I'll connect you with Roman there. It looks like he was the one that did that. So we'll connect you guys. Okay. So anyway, and the couple things I did have, I think I had one guy claim, like, well, Joel asked me about the pods, and I try to connect people. So if you got a problem with an issue, I don't want to be the middle guy here. I don't want to be, trying to, I've been when I've bought stuff. I'll give you an example. Like somebody was here and I bought something, from a guy. He didn't really know that much about the piece, and I got so involved in talking to him that I really didn't look at the piece. And then I showed it to Mark this weekend, and it turns out it's missing something, and then it had, like, I don't know, little melt marks on it and stuff. So anyway, whatever. So sometimes you're not paying attention, and I mean, I haven't paid attention on a couple other like things, Voltron or whatever. I get a little bit in a hurry and involved in what's going on. That's one other reason why I buy things. I'll get caught up in the moment and stuff, and I think we all do. So anyway, I'll connect you guys. We did have one other guy that reached out and was talking about some Labubu stuff and whatever, which I don't know anything about. So but really mostly everything went smooth. I don't even think we didn't have any parking snafus. I think everybody found us. We've got good signage now. All of that stuff. I mean, let me just go over the list so I make sure I've covered everything about, the weekend in Tampa. Again, people said they did better on Sunday, despite what others, said. Let's see. We gave out at least 300 Hot Wheels and Pokemon cards this weekend, and we had lots of new vendors. We had vendors that have never, they vended at other shows. And then one guy, I mean, he had some really, really good stuff. He called me on, what was it, Thursday, and I talked to him just to make sure that he was all set. And he's like, I think I'm going to have the best booth in the, but he had never done a show as large as ours, but he had really good stuff. But he came in on setup night. He's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to have the best booth. These guys over here have some crazy items, and then, and then the other thing too, let's see, I've got parking pass. I'm just looking over my thing. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the next Tampa. So, the other thing too, I'm just going to go ahead and add this, is that we had Alpha Omega out. They haven't been to our show in a long time. But I want to point out that they are CGC and, CGC facilitators. So they can take your cards, they can take your comics, if we have a guest that is a signer, they can witness it and get it, get a gold label for your comic book. Okay. Hopefully they did, they were happy enough to come back, because I really want to have Kaz there. They are a dealer for Kaz also, but they have, there's Kaz. It was there, and Kaz, only sets up at, a handful of shows. In Florida, they don't, they pretty much only set up at our shows, and they only set up at certain ones because they just don't have the staff, or they want to send, certain people. I mean, Todd is awesome, very knowledgeable, and has a background. He's one of the owners of Kaz, so he's like, he knows his stuff. Okay, so you talk to Todd there at the show. Feel free to submit your stuff, with him directly. And then it saves you a trip or mailing your item. I bought an item that you can't mail. Like, they're not going to mail it to you, and well, I guess you could mail it to them, but getting it back, and I'll show you that in just a minute here. But I bought it because they aren't going to do this item. They're not going to make, they're not going to grade stuff like that anymore. So again, we had, Alpha there handling CGC, and then Kaz was there handling, toys and stuff like that. Now this weekend we will have, so Kaz right now is going to be, they're not on this particular version of the logo, but they will. Let me go ahead and bring up another graphic. Sorry guys, just give me a moment here, and I'll just want to bring up a thing for this weekend that shows some other logos. Let's see. Sorry, I've got it. There we go. Okay, so I didn't put Kaz on there in this one. Okay, I'll have to fix that. So I haven't really put this out there, but Kaz will be at the show this weekend. If you go online, you'll see on my page that I posted that they'll be there. So they will be there this weekend. Again, this is going to be like kind of the I've asked them to set up in Jacksonville a couple times. They've done that, and so they are going to do that this weekend. And then so we should have them. We might have them in Kissimmee. I think I've talked Todd into coming to Kissimmee because he was coming to Orlando shows. And then then after that we'll have him back at Tampa in July. Okay. So the July Tampa show, which I guess I'll make myself, the July Tampa show in July 11th and 12th. Okay, we're going to have about 5 guests. I only have 2 on here, or let's see, I have 3. We have 3 booked right now. And I'm not going to get into who those are right now. Well, one of them, we will have Peter Raimundo back, the Disney artist, and then I've talked about the Superman villain guy. So we will have those guys, and then I've got a new one. Plus, I'm working on a few more that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll have a life-size Batmobile for that show. Again, that's July 11th, and it's going to be in the building next door to where we were this last weekend. So it's going to be 50,000 square feet. It's basically the largest, it's big. Okay. Largest show and toy show in the state, I would say. And definitely really from a square footage, in the South, because, and, I mean, that I've been to, that I know about. Okay. As far as square footage. Okay. Maybe not, as the amount of guests or whatever, but it's going to be about toys. We're going to try to have the Lego people back. I haven't contacted them, so if they say no, then it is what it is. We will have Lego there. I am going to have a ton of toy displays. It's something we're going to be working on, Sean and I, over the next couple weeks, or next couple months, I mean. And lots of other stuff at the next Tampa show. That is for me, the big show of the year. I am still working on bringing Super RetroCon back, but that's a totally separate show. Okay, so that's basically Tampa, and so I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this weekend. But before I do, I'm gonna let's go through some people that are here. I'm gonna scroll back and say what's up to to Heather, and yeah. Shellhead, you got to get around. So I know you did the Sarasota one time, but okay, said it was decent, not my best, maybe on me. Okay, well, they usually say it's the stuff, I don't know. Maybe I'll move you around a little bit next time. And then you should come to other shows. I mean, you should try maybe an Orlando area one, and definitely, I always tell people South Florida, because South Florida is, I mean, it's hot, for us. We get great crowds, great spenders, great people, okay, that come to that Coral Springs show, especially, and West Palm. It's not on here because, um, oh, it actually should be on here. It's my bad. It's October 11th, so I need to put that on there. So okay, so but Coral Springs in July, great venue, great crowd, great. It's this is still, this has the record for the second most in one day. Okay, and I mean they came out again in January. It was very very cool. And thank you. And then Marcy, thanks for telling me about a new venue yesterday that I didn't know about. Sharing that information, I'm going to follow up with that. We're still trying to get over in the Daytona area. I'm just still looking for a place, and had a great time. August was just there on Sunday, but looks like they had a great time. And they're excited for Fort Myers. And Heather, sign up for the shows that you want to do. Okay, well, hopefully your schedule opens up. I know you're busy with your photography and stuff. And oh, okay, cool. Thank you for paying for our parking. Many organizers make vendors pay for parking. I'm glad they do. They give us that parking. We are in RP funding. We are paying, all the vendors are kind of part of their table. I do a flat. I get them to, which we are going to talk about Lakeland here in a minute, but we haven't had that. We haven't had the had to pay for that. Now we did have to pay in the past when you had the paper one. So they haven't come to me. Nobody has abused, Lisa, people haven't abused the free parking in the recent past, because like before, when we had the paper passes, what happened was, um when we had the paper passes, they gave me a certain amount, and once they're gone, I have to buy more. Okay, and then it was hard to charge vendors. But what was happening is people were bringing their friends, and as far as their helpers, they're taking a pass for them, and now they can't do that, because I get a list of anybody that registers more than what they're supposed to. And if it's abused, then we're going to know about it, and then we're going to come to you. And I don't want to do that. So that's great. Okay. And then Fernando. Okay, great. Is Lake Worth the worst parking? And I think people want to attend, but find a place to park. Okay. So the last time we were at Lake Worth, how we found this place. So I want to do and I'm sorry to extend this, guys, but I only do these once a week, and I've always got lots of news to talk about. But I want to just talk a little bit about this. Parking is an issue at our shows, and so I'm always looking for. I think we're on the in between where we can still have them in these smaller venues, but we really need to start looking at bigger venues. But then we're going to have people complaining about costs of parking. But what I want to do is, Fernando, real quick, how we ended up, we found this location. When I started back in 2019 and 2020, I looked at South Florida, and I was told, oh, there's no buyers down there. That's kind of what they say about Miami still right now, but there's not customers down there. There's not, I waited and waited and waited to go down there. I feel like the Beatles or something like that, waiting to come to America. But anyway, so I dipped my toe into the South Florida by renting the Green Acres thing. And then the locations like this, they're really easy for us to book because we have an established thing. They like us booking there. They give us, the Sundays that we do, they actually they aren't renting out, in a general sense. They're for their own club events. So they give us, these 3 Sundays a year, and so we work with that, and they're really easy, to deal with and everything. However, the parking has become a little bit of an issue. They have like a fence area that we have to open up that goes into their back field. And then that's the other thing with parking too at Port St. Lucie. Unfortunately, we've had some issues there. Now, the last time somebody invited uh somebody invited I'm not negative on that, but it took up a lot of parking space and it screwed up the parking. Was the big red bus, the Blood Mobile, or whatever? Someone decided to schedule that on the same day as the toy show, and it screwed things up. So parking is an issue at our events, and we need parking. There's tons of parking this weekend. That's all free at the World Golf Village. Okay, and okay. All right, Joel. I'll connect you guys, like I said, Joel. Get you guys connected. I'll share your information with Rome in there, and we'll get and okay, Ghostbusters were there. These guys have really grown from one person that was just toughing it out, working on his group, and man, he's got a nice setup there. Very cool guy. They're very cool. You got a great setup there. And well, yeah, that is Saturday. Okay, so when you have a 2-day show, it doesn't matter if it's my show or any show. One day, the first day is always the day that everybody comes, and then the second day is kind of like, I'm gonna call it gravy. All right. Now in the fairgrounds case, we've tried doing a 1-day show there, and it doesn't make any sense because the cost from everyone's perspective is the same. Okay, it's exactly the same because the way that they bill me is they're charging one price for the room and then one price to set up all the tables and chairs for the rental. So once they set it up, you're just really renting the room. So it doesn't make any anyway. The bottom line is it's the same price. And so whether we did 1 day or two, and I'm gonna stick with 2 days. Okay, we're only gonna be doing like right now 3 or 4 2-day shows a year, and 3 of them are in Tampa, and then we're gonna do the one here in World Golf Village, the next time we'll only do 1 day. And then I think the hope is that we can make a Orlando 2-day. I think I still would like to try to do, and then maybe Coral Springs. I would like to do a 2-day, but other than that, we're gonna stick with 1 days. The reason why is because that's just what seems to work for us, and then because we don't have guests and all that, and then the other thing is the hotel costs and stuff are a little crazy, and the other but the main reason, one of the big things that benefits that you have with a 2-day show is that you're able to attract other vendors from different areas of let's say the South or around, because when you're not like our friend from Alabama that's coming this weekend is not coming to a 1-day show. Okay, they're just not coming to a 1-day show in Tampa because they've spent all their time to get here. They need time to recoup that money, so that investment. So and so that's a reason why. Yeah. No, I didn't, but it's on the Lakeland one. So if you go and look at that, there's a lot to put on these flyers, guys. I mean, here's my flyer for this last weekend. Here's the flyer where I have guests. You'll notice I don't have any logos on here. And then here's the flyer for this weekend with just Eddie on there, and Eddie's driving down from I think North Carolina, I think is where he lives. And so I wanted to make sure I put him on there. And then, there just isn't room for all these logos. Everybody wants their logo on there. And, I don't know what to tell you. So, and so now I'm going to start charging for logos on the flyer. No, just kidding. I'm messing with you. All right. And Andy, hopefully you did well there. hopefully you had a good spot. We'll see you this weekend with the chocolate and back in World Golf Village where we had you the first time. Great.
He's gonna have the bourbon cherries.
Gonna have bourbon cherries, we're told. Okay. And yeah, Roman, yeah, if you go back to, I will not have Sergeant Slaughter. Okay. It took me like 2 years to book him. So but I mean, it's 2 months out. I know I won't have him. I'm going for more of a superhero vibe, and then we're gonna have like a couple 80s movies people. So, and 80s and 90s stuff. I think we might have a wrestler, or yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. So I'm still working on that. Okay. But and let's see. And then okay, but yeah, definitely book tables. Okay, and what happened to the magazine? Toy Warp Jason says. Well, I did talk about that last week. We actually we had Ron out there taking some photos. What I'll do is let me real quick work on showing you something here. All right. We had Ron out here. I'm going to do a share my screen and let's see. Okay. So we had Ron out here on my profile, my personal profile here. You'll see this is a picture we took at the pizza place that we go to on Saturday. We got me and Lisa and Todd there and some other vendors. I usually try to take out vendors, not all the same ones every time, but just try to take out some vendors if they're interested and invite some people to dinner. And, because I want to get to know all these guys. So we had Ron out here for the magazine. He's taken some pictures. I didn't even see all these pictures. These are some pictures from the show this weekend. And I mean, this is the back area for you guys that, don't want to be toward the back, that you get in like late. This is, look how, you couldn't even get through there a bunch of times this weekend. Here's some minifigs. These guys were new. And it looks like, okay, Jordan, he was originally from, I love these things, man. These videotape things, these faux video. Very good branding he has on them and everything. I'll show that. We had this crazy Godzilla. This is going to be in World Golf Village this weekend. This lights up in the back. Hopefully everybody's seeing that. Let me make sure people are seeing that. Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And sorry. Let me make sure. Where is my page now? Okay, there it is. Okay. Yeah, then we had the Rodan, Ghostbusters guys. Wow, there's some stuff in here. I didn't even see any of this stuff. Wow. Okay, look at this. This is Fortress Magnus, I think. Maximus. And then you got Jeremy. He's got a lot of plush. And then these 3D guys are pretty cool. They're all painted. Look at the penguin down there. Yeah, good stuff, man. All right, there's Mike and The Rock. There is Tony. All right. It's turtles, graded turtles. Whoa, 1,500. Holy smokes. All right, Transformers. Give you guys an idea of what we had there. This is Kenny, a new guy. He brought really, really good stuff, and he hadn't been out to our show yet. This is Jeff, wondering, why I haven't bought something. Probably no, just kidding. Notice his Grayskull is gone. I bought that. We had Abby Mel, and this is Toy Stalker. They had the Raymond Toys van. I'm going to talk a little bit about Raymond Toys mostly. All right, we got records. Okay, I'm not going to go through all these, but you get the idea. So to go back to what we talked about, what happened to the magazine, Jason. What happened was I lost track of time, and I am still working on it. So on the break here, the goal is to have it in June-ish. We're gonna launch. I got some things I'm working on, and for the launch, like a launch party type thing and stuff. So and hey, thanks for coming out, Kenny. I just showed your picture. I don't know if you're still on here or not. Brian, thanks for coming out. We'll see you at an Orlando show soon. Maybe a Lakeland show. I mean, come on out. Okay. North Florida, Tampa. Okay, Tampa show was great. Promise never to ask about Kaz again. Well, okay. That's weird. All right. Well, I don't know what that means, but Kaz, they usually come to the Tampa shows. Kaz does. So they'll be there, 3 times a year. Okay. And then remind me. Oh, bourbon cherries. Yep. Okay. Talked about that. All right. Yeah, Mike, I haven't gotten that far on the hotel, so I'm gonna go back to that and talk a little bit about that. And then Mike, let's see. Best show, great show, best show, Florida, even beat Ocala Comic-Con. Wow. Holy smokes. Really? That's crazy. I'm always told the Ocala Comic-Con is really good. All right. And then our friend here, William, is looking for Critters 2 merch. It must be Critters 2 merch for Eddie to sign. He's looking to buy some stuff. So if you have Eddie or Critters 2 merch, hit me up and I'll connect you guys. Okay. And then Jarek, man, I wish I could get you up here a little bit more. You're a great vendor. And so we'll see you in Fort Myers, and then when we go to the Sarasota area. Okay, let me move on. And hey, Mike, thank you for stopping out. And okay, so let me move on my schedule, my little thing here. So we talked a bunch about Tampa. I talked about the guests, and I talked about the people that we're gonna have at the next one. And then let's see, and then this weekend at World Golf Village, that show is 12,000 square feet, guys. Beautiful venue, carpeted. The venue is just amazing. I really like the venue. But what kind of sucks is they had a golf tournament or something this week. It is World Golf Village. And so they had a buyout of the hotel. So we can't even stay there. We're spending like a ton of money with them, but they don't have any availability because the golf tournament bought out the hotel basically through Friday. So we're not staying on site, unfortunately, but this time around. But it is what it is. But it is a great venue. Eddie will be down. He's a great guest. He's gonna, have a helper this time, and he's a great, easy guest. He has been in a ton of stuff. The logo, I've kind of cut off his collage here, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it, the full collage here, because the person and they have contacted me, the person that put this collage together. Anyway, they've been in a lot of stuff, War Games, Grease. Stuff that's up here. He was the villain and voice of the villain in Dexter's Laboratory, and obviously Grease 2, and just a lot of things. And then also, like he said, like William said, the Critters 2. I guess he had a big part in that, and of course he was the voice of the kid, the nerdy kid in the Polar Express that wanted to rat people out. You're not supposed to do that. All of that stuff. So great guest. He's not expensive. He'll talk to you. He's great. He's great, personable guest. So come out, meet him, get your photo with him and all of that this weekend. Okay. That is this weekend at the World Golf Village, the Renaissance Hotel. Again, the parking is free. There is plenty of parking there. And it's a lot of great vendors, and we are, I would say, basically sold out. I think I have one aisle left, one aisle left, or maybe somebody downsized their booth this past weekend because literally they've sold everything that they had. Like they're waiting for a bunch of inventory. They sold between MegaCon and several other shows that they run that they were running. They're out of inventory, so they had to downsize their booth. So I might have 2 tables left. So if you're interested in that, it's not our cheapest show, but the building is not cheap. But and then also I was told that the Jacksonville fairgrounds is open now from my friend Abe, and so I guess I'll be looking into that because I've been waiting for them to move it. I haven't been there. I don't know anything about it. I just know that I've been told that they're taking events there now. All right. And Andrew, hey, we're looking forward to seeing you in July. Andrew's always got great stuff in Tampa there. Actually, he sold I know to another vendor a sealed graded Battle Cat and Panther. So that's pretty cool stuff. All right. And can you go ahead and Scott? Yeah, I'm gonna work on that. He was a very, very good guest, so I'll work on that. Okay, so let me let's see. Let me just make sure I've covered everything. Again, Kaz will be there. Now the other guy that's gonna be there, John Anderson. This is a very crappy representation of his work. Okay. He's been in, this is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think. And then he's been in, now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to his, he probably wouldn't want me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that is, I'm going to go to his profile, his profile and share this with you. This is his profile here, John Anderson. And just gives you an idea. If I go to another flyer, you'll see he's been in Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Stranger Things. He's in the Spider-Man a Homecoming movie, Jumanji. And this is another Comic-Con that he was at recently, actually a little while ago. But anyway, he's been in a lot of other stuff, guys. So it's not just here's another 2 below. Yeah, he's coming from a different area. So let me go ahead and stop that and go back to our thing here. All right, so that is this weekend. Let's see, and then this is the last show that we'll have before a break. So we're gonna have this one show. A couple of the one vendor said, hey, I'm ready for a break already. So this will be for Jeff Mikado, and just to know, because Jeff sometimes says, "Oh, we need to do more," but it's okay. I love him anyway. I know it sounds like I'm poking him, but I'm really not. We're good. But anyway, this is 3 weeks in a row. So what that means is I usually take Mondays off. I didn't take Monday off, and we're right back at it for this weekend. So we are. So after this, the next show after that will be the 17th of May, and that'll be Port St. Lucie, and that is sold out. Okay, I know I sound like a ludicrous record. There was a ludicrous record there that had said the tickets are sold out. But anyway, so let me go to the schedule real quick and talk a little bit about the schedule. North Florida, again, I have a couple tables left because it's 12,000 square feet. It's a big, nice venue, and all that, that I could squeeze in maybe 1 or 2 more people. And then Port St. Lucie is sold out. I'm down to kind of the final tables. I'm not going to take up all 25,000 square feet of the Kissimmee thing. So what I do have is I have some aisles left, and I have a couple what I would call drape back walls. All the wall 10 by 10s are sold out. Okay. All the wall 10 by 10s are sold out for that. I do have a new show that has been posted. I need to post it on my website, though. It has been posted online, and that is last week's rant, which I didn't put up my graphic here for this week's rant, but we're getting a little long here. But I I don't even know in time. It usually shows me the time. But anyway, okay, I see time. You know, we are gonna have this show on June 7th, okay, and in Lakeland, so that you'll start seeing the ads for. Ocala is sold out. Tallahassee, I still have some space, although you know we are getting vendors from up there that are signing up. So that's going to be mostly, if you make the trip, it's going to be mostly probably new vendors. I think Moriarty's planning on coming and a couple other people, but most of those people are going to be completely new, never been to our show, never set up at our show. So it's going to be interesting. And then we'll have a break and we'll be back with Tampa Toy Con. Now I'm just starting. This is starting to fill up, but it's a big space, so I got plenty of room. So come on out and grab your thing. The table, and then Coral Springs. I think walls are mostly sold out, and then corners are starting to be gone there. Still have Fort Myers, and I got to put up some of these other shows. So the new show that I'm gonna be adding here. So what happened is, in you know, I know that there is another show in Melbourne, but you know what happened here is one of the people that work at the Hilton in Melbourne came to our show in Coco, and then they said, hey, you know, you should come and do a show at our event, so at our location. And so I went over there and I looked at the space. It's about the same size as Altamont, okay, just to give you guys a heads up. And I said, okay, this is pretty nice. I like that I like doing it in hotels because the hotel's there. We can get guests and they can stay in the hotel. We can stay in the hotel and we can boom. It's real easy to set up. It's real smooth. And that's kind of the way I like to do it. But anyway, so we worked on some dates, and I believe it's going to be August 23rd. That's what we're working on finalizing the contract for. Is so that'll be August 23rd. I don't think that it's going to disrupt anybody else's event that I know of as far as on that side of town. Maybe it will. I don't know. We picked a date, and that's what I'm going with. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna, because we're just long here, I'm gonna kind of skip my rant, but because it's really not. It's only a really goofy rant actually, but it's basically these pre-orders for toys are getting out of control. Okay. If you guys are like me and you love these collectibles and stuff like that, but it just seems like my thing of the week is it's like everybody's doing a pre-order now. Nobody's like building something and putting it out there. I think the loyal subjects or whatever, they put it out there. It just seems that way. There are a couple companies that it seems like every month they come out with a new pre-order for something, and they're years out. So that's kind of was going to be my rant of the week. I was going to do some examples, but I'm going to skip that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I am just going to say that the rant of the week was, pre-order toys, these things where, they come up with something and it's like, you got to pre-order and then, you don't get it for 2 years. It's crazy. Okay. And sometimes, in the case of new wave toys, which, I love them. I love those things. Unfortunately, the owner or the founder passed away on a motorcycle accident. From what I heard, I don't know if that's true, but I think that's what happened. Unfortunately, what that's done is now I'm just going to go to their page here. We've been waiting for this Crystal Castles for probably 2 years. Golden Tea, the same thing. And certainly this Black Hole we've been waiting for 2 years for this. The people that put their money down on that, have been waiting. And I think, we had an update in February. The founder Shiloh passed away in December. And these guys, the stuff is really good. And I probably have 10 of these machines. and I bought some stuff off of here right after they said that he passed away. But I have this Coke machine and stuff. Some of this stuff is pretty collectible, but I have I don't have a frenzy, but I have a berserk. So, but anyway, I mean, some of this stuff, they've collected, money on it like years ago. I mean, and where is it? So I don't like that whole model, but that's just what we've had, to deal with in all of that. Let me go back to some more comments because I see that there is more comments. Did the Rowan sell? Oh no, it did not. So if you want one, so you're talking about the pterodactyl. Sorry, I can't think of Rodan. Yes, Rodan. There you go. Rodan did not sell. Okay, I believe he's bringing it to World Golf Village. Okay, he won't be. He's not coming to Port St. Lucie or any of those shows that are down south right now. Okay, that guy. So if you want it, you got to come to World Golf Village or Orlando. I mean, if he doesn't sell it this week, it's pricey. It's pricey. I think he wanted $2,500 for it, but it's mint. It's mint. Like no cracks, still on the cardboard, everything. Okay. And okay, let's see. And rare toys will be brought. Awesome. Great. Let's see. Still willing to contribute. Yeah. I definitely need your help there, Jason. I mean, I've got an outline and I've got some stuff. I've got to, I need to get things together. I realize I don't have, I want to do it and I've got the plan and stuff, but yeah, I need to hit you up on there. Yeah, don't forget your pecan turtles there. Yeah, these are good. They're great. You guys have some of those. So the closest one we have to Fort Lauderdale right now is the one. We're not doing it at. I may go back to that to the port one, but let me real quick tell you the problem with the reason why we didn't do it another time is because we had to rent tables. They wouldn't rent us table. They wouldn't give us the tables like we'd get it. So we're right now we're in the Fort Lauderdale area. We are doing it at the Cape at the Coral Springs Marriott. Okay, that's kind of the southest that we're going. We do have something I'm working on with this other place over there, the War Memorial. However, what I realized is that they had like a craft show or something a couple of weeks ago, and the reason why they were able to do it and not deal with goofy ticket costs and all this is because it was a free event. It was a free event, so there was no tickets. It was just like go in there. So we hope to revisit maybe the port, as we build an audience down there. The problem there is the parking is very expensive. I think it's $20 now or something like that, and then we have to rent tables. We have to have tables brought in and then have them pick up, and it's not an easy place to deal with. So whereas the Coral Springs, it's a good amount of space. It's a hotel, so we can stay on site, and there's free parking there for everybody. So that's what we're doing right now in the Fort Lauderdale area until I find another location. Can't hear anything. That's weird. Pleasant will be there with his signage this weekend. And I see Ron. I got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. And a wedding? Oh, okay. Didn't know that. All right. Let's see. Eddie was in a bad movie, Laser Blast. I don't know anything about that movie, but you can tell me about it there, William, this weekend, or he can, because he remembers all that stuff. My favorite is when, here we go. Joel, when you order, my favorite is when you pre-order an item and it shows up 3 weeks later in the store. I didn't really go over that. I didn't really think about that, but that is the other thing that happens on the pre-orders is the stuff comes after, it's already in the store, and then you the stuff that you ordered. I have heard of that. That's not cool, And then Pat is a new vendor, coming out. He's got some good stuff. He sent me some list of stuff and this and that, which I haven't been able to go through. So Pat, I did see your text. I was doing a show. And so, when I can get to catching up here and, right now I've got everybody, hopefully everybody got the setup info, which I'm going to go ahead and share again here. And so I can, I didn't really, so this is our page that all the vendors should have seen. So this is our times for Friday. And of course, everything here is very similar to what we had in Tampa. But most of what I want to show everybody is there is a load-in area. So mostly you're going to come in from the vendor guest parking area. You're going to come in from that area as far as coming around into the hotel. And then there's a back kind of entrance here. And you can park in this. There's employee parking and stuff back here. You can load in back there. There is also a door over in this area where it says St. John's Convention Center. There is actually a door that comes in. Now, we are going to be in, this is actually last year's graphic, but we're actually in the opposite room is what I've been told. So it's going to be like almost like a mirror image from what it was last year. I just found that out yesterday, which is why I don't put out this information. So the show area is wrong. We're actually in the room next door. I just literally found this out yesterday because they sent me the map. So, all right, guys. So let me just make sure that I covered everything on my list here. Okay, so again, Lakeland show is on. I'm gonna be sending out information on that. If you go to let's see, Eventany, if you're familiar with that, you'll have a link there. I'm going to add a link to Lakeland in the morning on the website so you can sign up. But yeah, so I am planning on doing that show, and you'll see some promotion for it here starting shortly. All right. Okay, guys. All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. Been great. I can't believe we've been on for an hour. I am always trying to improve. I didn't really get to show you my pickups. I got some little cars here, some Porsches. I've got some Star Wars stuff. I got these let's see, some crazy Miami Vice figures I kept looking at, and I was like, man, I guess I need to buy these things. Crockett and Tubbs. They look a little weird though, I'll tell you, but I love this in the back. It's got the old G Crockett Tubbs. So somebody needs to, 3D print me a Testarossa, to put them in or something. So anyway, and then I got some other stuff too. Anyway, so I won't keep you guys here. I'll just say that we'll be back next Tuesday. I'm pretty sure Tuesday or Wednesday, one or the other, but probably Tuesday. I try to stick with the schedule, and then I'm going to try to still do more videos. Maybe more of a pickup video, maybe a collection, historical video type thing. I don't know, but we're going to be working on that. And the other thing too is Dewey Sean will be back out this weekend with us, and he's going to be doing some videos for us. We're going to be interviewing vendors, and we're going to be interviewing customers, like kind of coming out of the show and seeing, hey, what'd you think, what'd you buy type thing. So Dewey will be helping us with that this weekend. So you see him and you want have an opinion, whatever, let's get some videos so we can share those on the website. And I want to thank you again for everybody for coming out, and we will see you next week. Have a good week, guys, and we'll see you in North Florida at St. Augustine. Have a good week, guys. Bye now.